Welcome back. Well, let's look at example number one. Example number one, research shows that the probability of an expectant mother having twins is 1 in 32. What are the odds in favor of the expected mother having twins? What I think is probably best, or definitely best to get started, to get accustomed to it, is simply write down the number of favorable, the number of unfavorable, and the total. I would like you to do that for example number 1, 2, and 3. So if you need to press pause, do so now. All right, so let's get started. Research shows that the probability of an expected mother having twins is 1 in 32. So if we take a look at 1 in 32, generally we write it like this. The top number indicates the number of favorable outcomes. So 1. Here, a favorable outcome is having twins. We have 1 twins, and when we're dealing with probability expressed as a fraction, the denominator is the total. So if we have 1 favorable outcome in 32 total outcomes, the number of unfavorable outcomes must be 31. Let's get back to the question. What are the odds in favor of an expected mother having twins? Well, the odds in favor are 1 to 31. Now remember that the odds in favor of, or the odds for, are expressed as the first number indicates the favorable number of favorable outcomes, the second number indicates the number of unfavorable outcomes, and those two sides added together will give you your total. Let's move on to B. Then what are the odds? Now we're talking odds. That says ratio. What are the odds against an expected mother having twins? So it's the odds against, and against is the key word here. And what do we do here? Well, we have to put the number of unfavorable outcomes to the number of favorable. We're okay? I feel good. Not that hard. It's not that hard when we break it down like this. Let's move on to example number 2. A CPU randomly selects a university student's name from a university's database to award a $100 gift card for the bookstore. The odds against a student being selected male are 57 to 43. Determine the probability that a randomly selected university student being male. Yikes. So let's pick this apart a bit. The odds against a male being selected. So I guess male would be the favorable outcome here, or the success. But since it's odds against, this second number would indicate male. This first number would indicate female. But it is difficult when a question's worded like this. We need to pick it apart. So remember, I defined that being male is favorable in this example. So that means that 43 favorable outcomes to every 57 unfavorable outcomes. The total number of outcomes is 100. I suppose now what I must do is I need to determine the probability, so it's asking as a fraction now, determine the probability that the randomly selected student would be male. Well, I know that together we have 100 total outcomes. The probability that we'll be selecting a male is 43, right? Because there are 43 favorable outcomes to 100. All right. Good times. No? All right, let's move on to example number 3. The probability of snow tomorrow is 3%. Fair enough. The probability of snow is 3%. Now, 3%. Now, percent means in 100. So it's quite easy to change 3% into a fraction. Fraction's often the easiest way. So it's 3 for every 100. I can express my probability that way if it helps you out. So here I would define my favorable outcome would be it's snowing. How many favorable outcomes do I have? 3. 3 favorable outcomes out of a total of 100 outcomes, or 3 out of every 3 days that are favorable to for a total of 100 days. That means that 97 days are unfavorable that do not snow. So, what are the odds for its snowing? What are the odds in favor? So we're going to look in favorable outcomes. Remember, odds are ratio of favorable outcomes to unfavorable outcomes. The odds against snowing is the number of unfavorable outcomes to number of favorable outcomes. And when we are reading odds, the odds against snowing is, well, I would read this as, well, 30 or 97 times it doesn't snow, and then to every 3 times it does snow.